Okay, here we go. So we got 1 less than 3 minus 4 times 3a minus 1. Now, we've got to solve this for a. So at the end of all this, we want to see something like a is less than 3 or a is greater than negative 2 or whatever, right? Something like that. So we're solving an inequality. Now we just got one on the number 1 over here, and we got the a is here, so we got to solve for a. Now, the first thing that students might want to do is they'll look at 3 minus 4 and they'll go, okay, 3 minus 4 gives negative 1. Now that's incorrect because you've got to, because you're subtracting instead of multiplying, right? So we've got to think about PEMDAS, order of operations. We've got to multiply with the distributive property before we subtract. Ideally, we would go inside the parentheses and simplify 3a minus 1, but the problem is these are not like terms. So we can't go 3a minus 1 is 2a or 2 or whatever. That's not correct. These are not like terms, so we can't subtract. And so we try to do parentheses. We can't do it because they're not like terms. There's no exponents, and then we multiply. So we take our negative 4 and we multiply it by both terms in here. So negative 4 times 3a, negative 12a, negative 4 times negative 1 plus 4. Okay with that? All right. And so now we've got, adding and subtracting and things, so we can try to keep simplifying, but all we can do here is add like terms, right? So we can't, put the 3 and the negative 12a together. They're not like terms, but we can put the 3 and the 4 together to make 7 because they are like terms. All right. And so now we're at the point where we've simplified both sides of the equation completely. So this was, the simplify part. And now we're going to do the solving. So now from now on, we'll be solving the equation. And solving is where we're adding and subtracting to both sides to try to get the a all by itself, right? So what can we do to solve for a? Yeah, subtract 7, good. You could subtract 7. And 1 minus 7, that's a positive 1, and negative 7 makes negative 6. And 7 minus 7 is 0, but we have a negative 12a there. And now a has been multiplied by negative 12, so to get it by itself, we need to divide by negative 12. Right. So when we divide by both sides by negative 12, this becomes positive 1a or a. This becomes positive 1 over 2, 1/2. But what happens when we divide both sides of an inequality by a negative? Need to change. Oh, whoops, I almost did it again. Need to change direction. So this inequality sign changes direction. Right, change the direction. Now, just really a reminder on that. It's because if you had, for example, I'll give you a simple example, negative 4 is less than 10. If I divide both sides by a positive number, like positive 2, it'll stay the same direction. This just becomes negative 2. This becomes 10 over 2 is 10 over 2 is what? 5. And what? So what's greater than what here? Right. But if it was dividing by a negative, that would be, so negative 4 is less than 10, that's an inequality. If you divide both sides of this inequality by a negative, like negative 2, we get, over here we get 2, and over here we get, yep, and over here we get -5. Good. And so what the inequality goes, 2 is greater than -5. Perfect, yep. So dividing by a negative is when we change the direction. That's the only time. Or if you multiply by a negative, but we don't do that very often. Dividing by a positive stays the same direction. And so adding or subtracting, same thing. So anyway, it's just dividing by a negative, we change direction. So in any case, we have a half is greater than a. But let's read it in, if I put a here, how can I rewrite the same inequality? Right. Yeah. A is less than a half. And reading from right to left, it's a is less than 1/2. A is less than 1/2. And they want it in interval notation. I'm just going to do a quick graph as well. Here's the number line. It goes from -infinity to +infinity. Here's 0. Here's the number 1, and here is 1/2. Here is -1. Now, a is less than a half means all numbers less than a half. A represents not just one number, not just 0 or -1 or -2. It represents all numbers that are less than a half. So all of these are represented by a. Okay. Reminder, parentheses mean not included in the solution. Square brackets mean included, or is included, let's say. Okay, so less than a half is not included, so we use parenthesis there. So that would be the line graph, and then the interval looks like this. It has a min, comma, a max. Min, comma, max. And for this set of numbers, these set of numbers range from -infinity all the way up to 1/2. You can never reach -infinity because it's just a concept, it's not actually a number. And so that's not included, and the half is not included. Make sense? And if it was, for example, a is less than or equal to 1/2, it would look like this. It would have a square bracket. But because it's just a less than a half, that's got the parenthesis, right?